So for those who are just joining, welcome to Tea and Tarot in the Trailer. My name's Kerri. I'm going to guide you through today's oracle card reading. I've got a lot of decks this morning to choose from. So for those who are returning, if there's any favorite decks, good morning, hi everyone. So if there's any favorite decks that you have, let me know in the chat if you want me to go to a particular one. Also, always stay in touch with me how the connection is going and the sound and everything, because I am in the trailer and it's a little bit like being in a tunnel to nowhere. Sometimes the reception's a bit dodgy, so please stay in touch with me about that. If we get disconnected, I will reconnect. So welcome. How's everybody doing? We're 2 days or 3 days away from the next full moon. I think it's in Aries. I'm not an astrologer, but I'm pretty sure it's in Aries, which will be great in terms of moving things along. So if you feel like you've been stuck lately, I really feel like we're going to start getting pushed forward soon. Things are starting to happen. So let's go to the cards and see what they have to say about what's going on in the world. I hope you guys are hanging in there. There's lots of talk about, another shutdown, and I don't know if that will happen. But, we have each other until then. We'll just keep doing this. Okay, thanks, Roseanne, for letting me know that the connection's okay. All right, so for those who weren't here a couple weeks ago, I got some new decks, a lot of new decks. I have a deck addiction. Let's just say that. Let's just call it for what it is. But anyway, so I want to use some of them again today. And this is a deck called Work Your Light, which I just found out about. And that's what the box looks like. And the cards are quite beautiful. So I feel like these ones are calling to us this morning. So let's go to these ones first. And also too, I used to do this when I had my wellness center, but we would do like a holistic trade table where we would get together and everybody would bring books, cards, CDs, things that they don't use anymore, but they really loved at one point, and then we would trade, and it was great. But unfortunately with COVID and everything, that's kind of not really been possible. But if you've got some friends and you guys are into cards or other things and you're getting kind of bored of some of your books or cards and you just need new ones, get together with some of your friends and do a trade. It's a great way to get a new deck, because even some of the decks that were published like 20 years ago are still amazing. So, all right, let's go to these ones. So this is the card I pulled, and it's actually called Protection. And you can see the ladies in this card. They're doing this. They're sort of like getting ready to hide, or like something's coming. So interesting card. So I think this is picking up on what's been happening lately in the world and how people are feeling. And there's this feeling of uncertainty, maybe not feeling safe, maybe not knowing what's going to happen in the future. And I think a lot of us are thinking it's going to be quite bad. And so this need to protect ourselves, this need to, and I noticed this when I was in Costco the other day, like the hoarding has begun again, even with the toilet paper. So there's this need to like feel like we need to protect ourselves or gather the things that we need or bunker down. So I think this card is coming up to reflect that, to show us that we're sort of in that space of fear, because essentially that's what it is. It's this fear of the unknown, fear that we won't be looked after, fear that there won't be a soft landing place, and so we need to buffer ourselves and do all these things to create this protection. But when I connect to this card, I feel like it's an illusion. I feel like this protection, or this need for protection, it's an illusion that's pulling us out of our center. We don't really need to protect ourselves from anything. We're actually quite safe. But I think that this card also has to do with our emotions, because we've been through so much in the last several months that there's a need to protect ourselves and to prepare ourselves so that we're not hurt again. It's almost like when you're in a relationship and you've had your heart broken and you're dating again, or you're in a new relationship and you're really guarded at first because you don't want to open up and end up with a broken heart. It's like that, but I feel like this has to do with the state of the world right now. So solutions to this, I'm not going to tell you not to use protection if you really feel you need it, okay? If that makes you feel safe and doing those things helps make you feel better about life, then absolutely keep them. but just notice why you're making certain choices and ask yourself, am I making this choice out of fear or uncertainty? Am I making this choice, out of preparedness, is it coming from a logical place, or is it coming from a fearful place? And maybe just ask yourself that internally over the next couple of weeks, every time you go to make a decision. Am I being pulled into that group consciousness of fear and panic energy? Am I picking up on that and letting that drive me forward? Or am I connecting to my center and making a conscious choice for myself and my well-being based on what I'm getting for myself? And those are two very different things. And it's not an easy thing to do that, but it's great to start to try to learn to train yourself to do that. That was a lot of words. That sounded very complicated, but it's not. Just train yourself to start trusting your intuition more and taking things into your center, into your heart before making choices. It's always a wise idea, but I think especially now with the energy of fear, so much out there. Okay, so protection. That was our first card. Let's jump in and go to Life Purpose Oracle cards. They were jumping out at me. All right. And welcome to those who've joined us. We've jumped in. We're gathering the information for the next couple of weeks to see what's coming down the pipe. Okay, so this card is about young people, about the children in our lives or the young people in our lives. So even if you don't have children, it's about spending time with them and connecting to them. And it's also about spending time and connecting to that childlike part of yourself. And the wonderful thing about kids, especially little kids, whether they're your own or someone else's, when you play with them, they're very present. They're very much in the moment. And they remind us how to play. And they remind us how to be in the moment. They remind us how to breathe. And they remind us how to connect to our joy. So if you don't have little people in your life, then I encourage you to do some things to start to connect to your inner child over the next couple of weeks. Maybe that's playing. I have a friend who's a musician and he plays music, and he always says that, it's playing around. It's playing around with something. You don't have to be an expert at it. You can jump into something and just make a mess. Whether you're going to learn how to knit and you don't know what you're doing and you make a mess of yarn or painting or playing around with an instrument, like just have fun with something without pressure on yourself to perform or to do it just so, just enjoy it. Hey, Yvonne. Glad you joined. So connect to some kids, play some games with some kids. Let them choose the game that you're going to play. It will be very different than an adult game, but a lot of fun. And if you can just let yourself go and lose yourself in the moment, you'll find that you'll have a lot of fun. Because little kids, they're always changing the rules, they're always changing the game. They're very much spontaneous. And so that energy, we could use a little of that energy right now. I also feel this card is asking us to check in on our kids, because they've been through a lot too. And even though they might seem okay and they might seem like they're rolling with it, some of them might not be. So even if you're stressed and you're working and your kids are home and they're driving you crazy and you just want to move to Tibet, just take some time and maybe take 15 minutes and just play with your kids. You just put everything to the side and just play with them without thinking about what you have to do next, without thinking about anything. Just enjoy that time with them. And I think that you'll get a lot from that. So children, inner child stuff, or connecting to the kids that are in your life. All right, so I'm feeling drawn to the Spirit Animal Oracle, which is a new deck. I'll show you what the box looks like for those who are interested. I have a lot of animal cards, but I really do like these ones. I love the art, and even the back of the card is quite beautiful. So let's go in here. So animals have been always a huge part of my life. I feel they bring messages when I do shamanic journeying workshops through practical intuition. And the longer program, I've always explained that to people. Sometimes your spirit animals will show up in your everyday. Sometimes they'll show up in your dream time. And sometimes they'll show up through cards or through different ways. And because, if your spirit animal is something that's not local to you, how is it going to connect to you? Well, it might connect to you in the dream time as well. But animals are always bringing us messages. There are teachers just like our spirit guides. And so it's really beautiful to build that relationship with your spirit animal. And I am doing a longer shamanic journey program starting on October 20th. If anyone's interested, it's going to be online. We'll meet once a week to journey together. Then you'll have homework, and then we'll catch up each week for the next part. But I will email you homework during the week. So if that's something you're interested in, then you can message me or email me. Okay, so, and it's funny because whenever we do a shamanic journey, everybody always wants like the big animals, like the tiger, or the lion, or the eagle. You know, they think they're going to get this big majestic animal, and sometimes they'll get like a tortoise or a dragonfly and something unexpected. But today I just pulled the lion spirit. Okay. And lion is all about using your voice and finding your power and feeling safe in using your voice. So some of us need to hear this today, that some of us censor ourselves, you know, and it might be to not hurt someone else's feelings, or it might be that you feel like you can't speak out, or you don't know how to speak out, or maybe you're trying to speak out and you're not feeling heard. I think right now what's happening in the world is a lot of people are speaking out about a lot of different things, and everybody's having conflicting views, and there's, you know, I feel like there's a lot of judgment happening in the world right now, and it really makes me sad. I understand it, but it upsets me because I can understand everyone's point of view and have compassion for everyone's point of view. We're all in a lot of fear right now, and we're all not being our best selves. And so I think it's important to, yes, speak up for what you believe in, absolutely be passionate about it, but also respectfully understanding that maybe not everyone has the same view as you or same feelings as you. And it's not your job to convince the world to believe what you believe. Like, that is a fool's mission. That is one of the follies of being human. We always try to do that. We always try to get people to believe what we believe. And it's impossible. We all have our own truth. So you can still express yourself. You can still talk about your opinion, but try not to get upset if other people don't adopt it as their own, is what I'm trying to say. Lion spirit is also about being strong, knowing when to be strong and knowing when to also just be still. Because when lions hunt, they don't just make a big, loud mess of noise in the jungle. They stalk their prey. They're very quiet, and then they know when to leap and grab it. So this energy of lion is also letting you know there's preparation time, there's behind the scenes time when you're working on something, and maybe you're quietly working away on it on your own and you're not really talking about it. And then when it comes out, when you're ready to share it with the world, then it comes out, and that's when you need to use your voice and express this to everyone. So the lion spirit, it's about using that voice, but it's also about using it responsibly, because lions with their roar can also be quite scary. So even when you are expressing yourself, and this is what I do, if I'm having to have a difficult conversation, or if I feel like I'm struggling with communication, I ask my guides and angels to be around me and help me find the right words so that I'm heard, and so that my words are received in love and understanding, and so that I'm not hurting anyone's feelings inadvertently. Of course, I don't think any of us want to go around hurting people. Like, I think most people don't want to do that. It happens by accident, and even if we're well-meaning. But so lion, it's about using your voice, it's about using it in a powerful way, but it's also about finding that balance between the power and also the expression, and also just how it's received as well. Okay, so we're being asked to do this now. We are being asked to say things. So if you've been holding back, ask yourself why you've been holding back. Maybe you're afraid when the words come out, they're going to come out negatively or too much, right? And that's what happens when we hold things in. When we do finally release the words, it's like blah. And that's why people fear anger, because when you're angry and you don't do anything about it, it usually starts off as irritation or frustration. You don't do anything about it, and that builds and builds and builds, and then you become like a powder keg, and then you blow up your anger all over someone. It's usually not well received, and then we think, oh, well, anger is really bad. Well, no, it's not bad. It's just holding it in and not letting it out in a gentle way. It's maybe not the best choice. So Lion's asking us to find that balance, but also not to give up your power, not to give up your beliefs, not to give up what you're passionate about. It's not about, you know, cowering and becoming the mouse. It's about standing in your power, but doing it in an even balanced way and allowing other people to do it as well and empowering them to do it as well so that we can all be this. Okay? Sound good? I love it. Yes, Loretta, I love this deck. And yes, for the shamanic journeying, we're starting with the lower world, middle world, and then upper world. So if people want to do all three 4-week programs, they can, or just do them one at a time. And I think the information's on my website. I hope so. But yeah, if you message me, I can send you guys a link if you're interested in that. All right, so let's go with the fairies. I feel like the fairies are calling to us, and you know, we could use some lightheartedness. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple weeks, but it feels like the energy might be a bit heavier than I would have hoped, just based on the cards I've chosen so far. So do whatever you need to do to get through the next 2 weeks, you guys. All right. Things are manifesting really quickly lately. I don't know if anyone has found this, but very quickly. And depending on the state of mind you're in, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to have a very, very bad day all of a sudden. So it's about knowing where you're at as well. And I think self-care is so important. Starting the day off on a good note is so important. So if you're feeling off, take that 5 or 10 minutes for yourself. Meditate, reset how your brain is operating. Because when you go out in the world, that's sort of like the filter that you're going to experience everything. So if you're starting off your day kind of on the wrong side of the bed, it's not going to get any better. Things are happening very quickly. I don't know if any of you have found you just think of someone and they're texting you or bumping into someone on the street or but anyways. So this card is about, it's from the fairies, and it's moving forward fearlessly is the message on it. And you can see she's sort of there's a lot of darkness around her here. She's kind of wandering through a forest, not being able to see where she's going. And so it's not just about moving forward fearlessly, it's about having trust that you're not going to get lost where you're going, and that there is going to be some light at the end, and that you are going in the right direction. And so when we're lost or we feel lost in our lives, it's really hard, you know, because you don't know you're going in the right direction. Well, my advice to all of you is when you feel lost, keep moving. Because if you keep moving in any direction, you'll find your way somewhere other than where you were. And if you feel stuck and lost, if you just stay still, nothing will change, right? So if you're like literally using the analogy of being lost in the forest, if you keep walking, eventually you're going to find the edge of the forest. Unless you're walking in circles, and that happens, but eventually you figure that out too, right? So this is about walking forward fearlessly, putting that fear on the shelf, like allowing yourself to have a little bit of it, but don't let fear stop you. Don't let it stop you from moving forward. Fear is such a crippling energy. It's so sad when I meet people later in life, older people, and they have regrets, and a lot of the regrets are around them not having the courage to live the life that they wanted or to make the choices they wanted. They let fear and other people's expectations and other people's agendas dictate their lives. And I think that's a tragedy. Okay, like yes, we have to consider other people, and we have to consider our children and our families and that kind of thing in our decision making. But there's also you, and this is your life, and life can be short. And so it's really important to align yourself with the choices you're making. Even if you can't make all of the choices and have all of the freedom to do whatever you want, like waving a magic wand, you can still put yourself in the scene of a lot of the things happening in your life so that you can feel more in control, so that you can feel more passionate about what you're doing. And so releasing that fear as you move forward is so important. And if you get stuck on that, that's where you get help. If you look at a lot of successful, well, I don't know how you would measure success, but what other people think are successful people in life, a lot of them have coaches, a lot of them have counselors, a lot of them have a whole team of people working with them to help push them forward when they feel afraid. And that's a lot of what I do for a living too. I help people, you know, take that step into the unknown and through it when they feel that they can't on their own. And there's a lot of people like me out there, and we work in similar ways. And when I get stuck, I have a team of people I work with too. So you don't have to do all these things on your own, you know. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. Have them help you know, by speaking about it, release those fears. It's really, I'm distracted because there's this weird cloud that keeps coming in. Guys, it's not spirit, it's incense. I mean, a spirit, but it's just really weird incense because every once in a while this weird cloud comes up. Anyway, fearlessly, okay? Try. At least know what your fears are. Make a list of them. Know what they are, because those fears are the only things in your life stopping you. It's not other people. It's not situations. It's not how much money you have. It's none of that stuff. It's your fears. And so if you have a list of your fears and you know what they are, then you're 80% of the way through it, because most of us don't even know what we're afraid of. But once you know, you can start kind of working away at those things, because the things that you're afraid of take your energy and they drain you of energy, so that you have very little energy to do anything. So if you release those fears or move through them, you get a ton of energy that comes your way there. And to be honest, some of you have probably experienced this. If you ever have to do something you're terrified of, like I used to hate public speaking, I'm still not a fan, but after you do it, you feel so amazing because you survived, and it's over, but you've survived. And so all that extra energy comes to you that was being used up in the fear. So when you release your fears, you get more energy. So if you're exhausted in life, chances are there's some stuff you're afraid of that you haven't been addressing. So, all right, homework. Okay, so, I'm being pulled to 3 different decks. Let's go to this one. This is my kind of new favorite tarot deck. It's not a traditional tarot deck. I'll show you guys the box. It's called the Lighthearted Tarot. I didn't expect to love it so much. It's actually probably my favorite deck of all time right now. I kicked all the other decks out of the way. It just speaks to me. Sometimes you get a deck and it just like, it feels like it's part of you. It feels like it knows you, and every time you pull a card, you're like, oh, right. And that's how I feel about this deck. I feel like we just jive together. So, okay, 5 of Cups. And in this deck, I go to the pictures, not so much 5 of Cups, because 5 of Cups has a very specific meaning. But in this card, I'm being drawn more to the image as I tell you what this card is about. Okay, so you can see there's a lady. Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know why, but I don't want to say the name of the little person that lives in my phone popped on and tried to help me with stuff. But anyways, 5 of Cups. So this woman is sitting. She's got 3 cups off to the side that are empty. One is kind of spilling down into this vortex, and she's holding one in her hand, but she's not looking at the one she's holding in her hand. So cups in the tarot represent wishes and dreams. So they're all the things that we want in our life. So in this card, she's discarded 3. She's decided, I don't want these things anymore. The 4th one, she's kind of like, nah, she's letting it empty into the earth. She's just sort of like letting that stuff go. And then she's holding one in her hand, but she's not looking at it. So it's almost like Spirit has handed her this 5th option, but she's not fully aware of it yet. She's almost like a little bit kind of like depressed, like, oh God, you know, nothing's working and I don't want any of these things and what am I doing? And it's sort of dark and, you know, dark card. And I'm just throwing all this stuff down into the earth. But this card is important because the thing that's in her hand is the thing that she's been looking for all along. And it's actually a positive card because it's important that she let these things go. Because if she had have settled for those things, then she never would have had this 5th option. So this card is about really looking at what you want. And are the things in your life really the things that you want? And if they're not, how can you get from A to B? What do you need to let go of? And this isn't about letting go of people necessarily, or jobs or things. It could be about letting go of, like what we talked about earlier, fears or certain states of mind or preconceived notions or beliefs or things that aren't working for you. So it's asking you to look at those things in your life that aren't working, that you don't resonate with anymore, and to let some of them go. And that can be a hard process, especially when you don't know what to let go of first or what you need to let go of. You might be clueless. You might be like, I feel like this card, but I don't know what those things are that I need to let go of. Okay, great. Start by cleaning out a closet. Honestly, just tidying up your house a little bit, cleaning out a cutlery drawer or a bathroom or a linen closet. Start with something small that you can tackle and get through. That'll get the energy going. And once you start to declutter or let things go in your home, your body's going to start to do that energetically. It just does. And even the other way around is true. When I teach Reiki classes and people go through this big shift, they often go home and start rearranging their houses or rearranging their closets or repainting their living room because they've shifted energetically and now their environment needs to change. So we are very much a part of our environment. So if you feel you need to make change in the body or consciousness and you're not sure where to start, then start by just doing something in your home, even something small. And that will help you figure it out. Because a lot of us can't figure out what we want in life on the couch, just in our heads going, oh, I wonder what I want. We learn that by doing. We learn that by living. We learn that by going out there and trying things. Sometimes we try things and we hate them. I had this sort of vision in my mind that when I was younger, that I wanted to be a weaver. I could just see myself, at night after dinner, just with my loom weaving fuzzy blankets. Well, I love fuzzy blankets. I took a weaving course when my oldest son was still a baby, so I'd nurse him, and I'd go to this weaving class. And after the 5th class, where we still hadn't learned how to thread the machine, and I was just like antsy to jump in and do it, I was like, I can't take this class anymore. I need like immediate gratification. Like I can't learn how to weave for 8 weeks and not even touch the wool. That's not my thing. So I ended up doing photography and pottery, which was a little more my thing. But in my mind, I thought, oh, I'm going to love weaving. This is great. It's sort of a dream of mine. And then I tried it and I couldn't stand it. So sometimes we need to just jump in and try things, And sailing, I've always been terrified of boats and drowning in sailing accidents. So I took a sailing course recently, expecting to not be sure if I would like it or not. I felt pulled to do it, but I wasn't like sure if I'd love it. I love it. And so I was really surprised how much I love it. So you just don't know sometimes until you jump into something. So this card is about letting go of the things that aren't working, but also being open to maybe what you want, you don't even know it yet. Spirit knows it. To put it right in your hand. It's coming. But it will come faster if you can sort of weed out a little bit of what you don't want. Okay? And just like a garden, like even using that analogy of weeding, the plants you want to grow and thrive and bloom sometimes get choked out by the weeds. And the weeds have a right to be there too, absolutely. But unless you really want that plant that we consider a weed, you need to move it around or relocate it or just pull it out to make room for what you do want to grow. And that's what we're being asked to do in our life right now, which is actually in alignment with this time of year, the fall. It's about the harvest. It's about looking at what you've planted, what you enjoyed over the summer, what worked, what didn't, what seeds do you want to plant next year. And I'm literally doing that in my physical garden right now. I'm kind of like, okay, I planted Brussels sprouts. That didn't go so well. The slugs ate them all, but it took up a lot of space in my garden. Next year, I'm going to skip that and plant more of this. That did well. So I'm doing that actually physically with my garden right now, but this is asking us to do that with our lives. So this is the harvest. What came forward in the summer, what's coming forward now, what works, what doesn't, what are you going to plant next spring. And the winter season that we're moving into is all about introspection and self-reflection and figuring that stuff out. So you don't have to do it overnight, but the energy in the universe and in nature is supporting that right now about that process. So we're all kind of figuring out what we want and moving forward with that. Now let's go to the Universal Love cards, see what they have to say. So for those who just joined us, we're looking at the cards that are letting us know what's happening over the next 2 weeks. And they're starting off a little heavy, kind of, having us really look at some stuff. But the main themes so far have been releasing fear and also really kind of assessing in life what it is that's working for you and what isn't. And being okay with letting go of that stuff that's not. Because you need to create space for the stuff that is. Okay? So, wow, guys. I guess there's going to be some hermiting. Maybe we will go back into like a little bit of a lockdown or something. Okay, I pulled the retreat card, which is all about you know, going in with yourself and taking that time. So I feel like this whole year has almost been a spiritual retreat where we've been forced to do that in a way. And it's worked for some of us and hasn't worked for others. And to be honest, like, I'm glad that things opened up again in the summer. And I know there's talk about reducing our contact over the fall and winter, which makes sense. But at the same time, I'm kind of a little bit like, I miss people so much, but at the same time, I love hermiting in the winter. So this retreat card is like, I'm kind of like, oh, that would be great. We can wear pajamas and just meditate all day. But really, it's about retreating, taking that time for yourself. So if you have been rushing around and frantic and haven't had that time for yourself, then please take a day, take 2 days if you can, and just spend that in nature, spend that time with yourself. Oh, Kerri just came back from a Reiki retreat. That's awesome. That would have been amazing. So yeah, if you have the opportunity where you can do something like that with other people. I'm having some friends come over in a week and a half, and we're going to do a retreat together. We're going through a class together, and so, you know, small group, like only 3 of us, but you know, so you can retreat with other people if you want to do that, if it's possible, depending on where you're going in the world. But the retreat is about just sort of pulling back and reassessing again, like what I talked about in the earlier card, what's worked for you and what hasn't. It's important to take some time to look at that stuff, because when you do take the time to look at that stuff, it makes it easier for you to decide what you do want. Sometimes we don't know what we want, but we really know what we don't want. And that's good, because that's where you start. You start with what you don't want. That will help lead you to what you do want. Okay? And I'm a big believer in writing things down, like with a pen on paper. If you really struggle with that, then use the notes on your phone. But it's really important to write down the things that you want. Write down your goals. Write down your dreams. It's really powerful putting them on paper. It helps get you to get clear. It also makes it clear for the supportive spirits around you, the universe, saying, that's what she wants, that's what he wants, this is it. Because it's written. We think we're clear with our thoughts. We're not. There's so much going on in our minds all the time. So get yourself a new journal and write some of this stuff down. Write your fears down. Write down the things you want to overcome. Write down your goals and dreams and the things that you'd like to move towards. And it will help you get clear. And take that time for yourself, especially those of you who are feeling really burnt out right now. It's important to make self-care a priority right now. Used to be optional. Right now we need it. The energy, the frequency of the earth has been going up. That is making our frequency go up, and it makes things manifest faster. And whatever your state of mind is, you're going to be creating from that place. So unless you're feeling spectacular, you're going to be creating a lot of chaos and a lot of, you know, disjointed things. But when you're in alignment and when you're in the flow, it's just like surfing an amazing wave. All the people, places, things, times, and events you need are going to just sort of arrive right at your door with very little effort. But you are the one that needs to be aligned, okay? So start with you. If you're having a crazy day, take a time out in your car, do some breathing exercises, and try to get yourself back into alignment. And like I mentioned before, if you're struggling, reach out to someone. You know, find a healer, find a mentor, find a coach, find someone to work with who can help shift your energy and give you that like bit of a push in the right direction so that you can get there faster, so that you don't have to suffer. Because we're done with the suffering, okay? No more suffering. I'm done with the suffering. I think we're all done with the suffering. All right, let's go to the Starseed Oracle, which is another beautiful deck of cards, which is also new to me. I love doing this Tea and Tarot because then I can keep buying cards. And I am in the trailer today. I'm not sure if I'll be in the trailer in 2 weeks. I hope so. I have to shut it down for winter though, which is really kind of sad, but all good things. But I'll still do Tea and Tarot from my living room. All right, so pulling a card from this deck. These cards are a bit sticky because the deck is so new. So we'll see. Oh, but this one wants out. Okay, wait. All right, so that retreat card, this card is asking us to wait. And it's saying things are still being woven. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. In our life, sometimes when we're trying to do things and we're making an effort and we have our goals and we have our direction that we're moving in and we take the necessary steps, we might be hitting like walls. And sometimes we hit walls when we're afraid and we're meant to push through. But sometimes we hit walls because the universe is saying, okay, wait, you've done your part. That's awesome. You've taken action. That's awesome. But we need to rearrange some stuff for you so that this can come together. Because sometimes the things in our lives aren't just dependent on us, they're dependent on other people and other situations and things lining up. And we can't, control all of those things. There's sort of a web that's woven, and that's where spirit comes in. So spirit is asking us to wait and saying things are still coming together. So take the action that you can, but if you find that you get stuck or you feel like you're hitting roadblocks, just stop and just wait and work on something else and then come back to it, because things are being rearranged. And I really feel like this whole year things have been rearranged, and I have a different perspective about what's going on than a lot of people. I think that change is happening, and we've been asking for this change for a while. And when change first comes, it's very chaotic. It can seem very negative. But then when you move through it and out the other side and things settle, you can see the wisdom of the change. So I feel like everything we're going through in humanity right now is moving us to that change, which I do believe will ultimately be positive. But it depends on where we're at through the change. And so I don't like it when people are going into fear and despair and negativity, because I feel like there's enough of that. It's really important to hold your space right now and to be that light and to be that compassionate person, not just for other people, but for yourself, especially for yourself as well. Okay. And it's hard to do that when you're drained energetically and you're tired and you're afraid. Then we can't call up that extra energy to help other people. And so that's my perspective on what's going on. But this card is asking us to wait. And to me, wait is synonymous with the word trust. We are being asked to trust that spirit has a larger plan. And it doesn't mean we're powerless and that we're being picked up like chess people on a chessboard. We are co-creating with spirit, but spirit's saying, wait, we need to like lay the groundwork here for this to happen. Okay, so it's like preparing the space, preparing the soil, preparing the event venue, whatever it is, but sometimes things need to come together before things can launch. And so this is asking us to have patience and have some faith. All right, so try and do that, but it doesn't mean don't take action. Still take action, but just know that if you get stuck or if you get stopped, then that's a pause. It's just for you to wait. All right. Being drawn to the return to the spirit cards, which are these cards here. And I have 3 decks of these fractal image cards. There's Path of the Soul, and I forget what the other one's called, Divine something, and then the Return of Spirit. So let's go with these. This is the newest deck of the 3 that's come my way. Okay, so here we go. So all that waiting, very much like being pregnant. For those of you who have had the joy of being pregnant, it's a long 10 months sometimes, right? I just pulled the birthing card. So we are going to be moving into this new energy. But for those of you who have had the experience of giving birth to a child, it's beautiful, but it's also terrible at the same time. And it's not comfortable, okay? Just like the period of time we are in on the earth is not comfortable necessarily. But you have to do whatever you have to do to get through it. Just like if you're birthing a baby, you do whatever you need to do to get through it. Whatever helps you breathe, whatever helps you stay conscious, you do that. And yes, there's fear and uncertainty and unknown and all of those things, but it happens, and eventually that baby is born and all is well. So we're being asked to have the trust and faith. We're being asked to do whatever we need to do to get through the uncomfortable part of the birthing process, because once we do come out the other side of it, there's all this, it's lighter. It's lighter. But yeah, it can be a tough one. So honestly, I'm a big believer in doing whatever you guys need to do to stay on the level, like to really take care of yourselves right now, and to reach out to people too, to remember to do that, because we have been very isolated and we haven't been able to spend time with our friends and our family like we normally have. And it's been a bit better over the summer, but there are a lot of people I haven't seen in a really long time that I'm really missing. And I forget that I can just call them, or I can just Skype with them, or Zoom with them. And so we forget. And so it's important to reach out and reconnect to those people in your life, because it's really easy to feel alone right now. And I think that's sort of the biggest tragedy of what's been happening, is that people are feeling more alone than ever. And so we need to stay connected, okay? And so connected to yourself, connected to the people in your life that you love, and know that we're going through the birthing process, and most people have labor support, or at least someone in the room with them. So we don't need to do this on our own, okay? We can get help with it if we need it. All right. So there's another deck that's a bit new to me called the Spellcasting Oracle. So let's go to these cards. I feel like they're calling for us. And we'll do this deck, and I think we'll have time for one more. Oh, I've got several jumping out at me. Okay, I'm going to go with this one. Okay. Oh, wow, guys. So funny. Sometimes the decks, when you're working with your deck and you're shuffling, cards will fly out at you. And, you know, just notice what they are and put them back in your deck. But this card actually popped out of the deck 3 or 4 times earlier today. It was a jumpy card. And it was the one I just randomly pulled now. And it's love. And that's really what we need right now in the world. Absolutely. For ourselves, for other people. There's no substitute for that. Love really is the glue that holds everything together. And it really is the only thing that can cancel out judgment and fear and hatred and all of those things. Love is the only thing. And that's why it's so important in our lives. That's why we're always looking for it in relationships, in our romantic relationships, in our friendships, in our family, with our children. We just want to feel loved. We want to be able to love other people, but we really want to feel loved as well. And it's really in everything we experience. And that's why even with our pets that we have, you know, our dogs and our cats and our other pets, they are unconditional love. Little kids are unconditional love. Most people feel really good after spending time with their pets, or really fun little people, because they are just off gassing that love all of the time. And I don't know what happens when we get older if we lose a little bit of that. So this card is asking us to reconnect to that love and to that faith, and to hold that space. So let's collectively decide in the next 2 weeks, we're going to give up a little bit more fear if we've been carrying that, and we're going to have more trust, and we're going to cultivate more love and keep that inside ourselves. Okay. Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. Let's go here. I haven't pulled from this deck in a while, and it wanted to come today. So let's see what it says. The Lady of the Gift. Okay. Kind of makes me think of winter with the crystals there and the wind. Yeah. I think this card is I'm drawn to the light in this card. I'm drawn to the energy of this card. And the message that I feel is coming from this card is that the gift is inside of us. And we have forgotten it. And we can only find it by going within. And no one ever wants to go within. It can be kind of uncomfortable. And honestly, the best way to do that is through meditation. No one ever wants to meditate. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. You don't need to do it for an hour. You don't need to torture yourself with meditation. If you don't like it, choose a guided meditation to start with. Bookend your day with that. Start off your morning, have a little mini meditation. At the end of the day, before going to bed, have a little mini meditation. Just try that for the next 2 weeks. Just try it for the next 2 weeks and see if you feel better or different the next time we gather. But this is asking you to go inside. That's where your gift is, inside. And you can't get inside when you're doing other things and when you're on the socials and on the Netflix, right? You gotta be quiet to go in here. That's why being in nature is helpful, because it helps you sync your rhythm to the earth again, helps you breathe, helps you go within. So if you're struggling with that, I would suggest start with a guided meditation. Go for a walk in the woods. Just breathe. Leave your phone in your car. Just you go for a walk without your phone, without any devices, just you and nature. Or just go get a blanket and get on the ground before it gets too cold to do that. Or if you have a hammock, even better. I'm a big supporter of hammocks. But connect to yourself, connect to nature. Do a guided meditation if you have trouble sitting still in silence. But breathe. Breathing is also helpful. Breathing exercises will take you inside. It's not scary. We always think it's scary going in here. It's not. But we need to do that for ourselves. That's where our gifts are. That's where you are going to get the information and the energy you need for moving forward where you want to go. Okay? So I'm going to do one last card. Well, 3 cards. It's the silver wing, gold wing, circle ones, which don't always make sense, but we pull them anyway. All right. So that's that one. I need a gold wing one. Okay, and then, all right. Okay, so this is what I pulled. So the gold wing one is communicate well, wisely, and urgently. Urgently? But communicate well, and we talked about that in the lion card. Communicate well. Communicating well is just trying to get your point across in a loving, compassionate way and letting those words come out that you need to. The silver card is let go of certain worries. I think that's self-explanatory. Don't worry, just do it. The key is Sunday and healing. Okay, so maybe Sunday would be a good day to take some time for yourself and to connect to yourself and nature and spirit and do whatever you need to do to recharge your batteries to get through the following week. I don't know what's going to happen with this full moon. I feel like the cards were kind of all around sort of nurturing and being gentle with ourselves, but also being fearless. So guys, hold your center. Whatever happens, just keep the faith, okay? And if you're struggling, reach out and get help from somebody that you know, a friend, family member, healthcare professional, crazy Reiki lady, whatever works for you, just do it, okay? We're all in this together. We will all get through this together. We are all moving to a better place together. Keep the vision, keep the faith on that. I love all of you. Thank you for joining me, and always message me if you need anything. I'm here, and enjoy the rest of your week, okay? All right. Bye, everyone.